Welcome, everyone. This is the next episode of our Galactic Astrology Ambassadors podcast, where we introduce our certified Quantum Soul Guidance practitioners. For any newbies here, Quantum Soul Guidance is a modality that incorporates galactic astrology, so natal chart interpretation that combines astrology, various techniques, and considering stars and other deep space objects, and also bringing in soul reading, Akashic records reading, tuning into the soul records to retrieve most relevant information for the people that are looking for answers. So today, I'm very happy to introduce to you Jane Andrianova, who is based in Ashland, Oregon, USA. Originally from Soviet Union. She will tell us all about her background story. And Jane is one of our latest certified practitioners offering Galactic Astrology sessions now and going forward. I reviewed her certification documents, her client sessions, and I've also kept an eye on her social media posts. She offers valuable information that helps expand our consciousness. So I just can't wait to hear her story, and hopefully she can share a couple of highlights from her client sessions to support our expansion. So welcome, Jane, and really well done.
Thank you for having me.
So I was curious about your upbringing. So you came to States when you were 18, right? And you mentioned that you've always been, just from reading your bio on your website, which is really beautifully done, by the way. The website is called violetflamehealing.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I encourage the viewers to go and check it out. You know, what was it like for you to perceive the other realm, other side, and at the same time kind of have a 3D human experience and then completely changing countries? Is there anything that you would like to highlight about your spiritual journey that may be helpful as well to the viewers?
Yeah, so I was born in Soviet Union, and then I was 11 when the collapse happened. So I do remember some of the things from it, but not, of course, everything. And then it became Russia, and I'm from Moscow, Russia. So I've lived in a big city, for 18 years. And I did start meditations when I was 16. And that's when I had experience of out of body. I mean, it was very easy for me to do that. Like I could see myself like laying on the bed, but at the same time I was out of it. So I was doing it once in a while. And there's a radio show where they had a guy who was basically doing guided meditations, and we did things with spirit animals as well. But I kind of didn't understand what everything was about at that time. And then I also had some kind of intuitive dreams too, where I would have a dream and then it was very minor things, but then it would come true, whatever I was seeing in my dreams. And my mom has been intuitive as well. And then my grandmother on my mother's side was, from the stories that I've heard, people were bringing babies and animals to her. If, for example, a baby was crying or there's something wrong with the cows, they would bring them to her, and then she would put her hands on the baby or the animals and they would calm down. So kind of runs, I guess, through the mother lineage, the intuition. And then when I moved here, I mean, I didn't want to move here. My parents won a green card, and that's how we ended up in the United States. And yeah, so it was very tough for the first year. Didn't speak English. I mean, I knew English, I just couldn't speak it. I knew the writing portion of it. Yeah, so I didn't have any friends or anything for the first year or so. So it's kind of lonely. I skipped, the high school part. So I went to college where, again, it was hard because of the English, but then it became much better. And eventually I learned to like it here. And in my 20s or so, like 20 something, I started experimenting with plant medicines. and connected with that community. So again, I've had out-of-body experiences. I've had this day where it was kind of the movie Matrix, where you saw that this dimension is not the only one, that there are others. And I remember I had a hard time like understanding how everything worked. And then after, but again, I was understanding, but I didn't know the purpose of all of it, the soul, that type of thing, or the past lives. And then I took a break for probably like 10 or 15 years where I just did yoga, didn't really do much. And then I went fully into it when I met my twin flame. He activated everything for me. And that's when I was just doing things, left and right in terms of spirituality and learning, what I'm here for and my gifts, and, took a bunch of trainings and classes. I mean, anything I was called to, I was just doing it.
That's so interesting that you've mentioned the twin flame experience. And I saw you also mention that on your website. When I looked at your galactic astrology chart, I noticed you have a connection to HADAR, among many other stars that I hope to mention some of them in this call. But every time I had a client who had conjunct HADAR star, which is Beta Centauri, to any of the planets, there is always deep, profound experience in connection to another person, usually described as a twin flame experience. So if I just look quickly at your chart, you have Uranus in Scorpio in your 5th house, conjunct Beta Centauri, which is also known as HADAR, at only 0.16 minutes. So that's a very strong connection. And then your south north nodes are squaring HADAR as well. So, and your vertex is in Scorpio in 5th house too. So for any newbies to astrology, 5th house
relationships.
Connects to relationships, but not necessarily long-term relationships, but passionate relationships where you have a deep desire for the other person. It's electric, it's magnetic, and very intense. And so you having Scorpio there as well, and HADAR, I wonder if the connection is there, because what I've learned through Hadarian starseeds is that when we tuned into soul records of HADAR, there was an experience of unconditional love. I mean, soul bonds so strong where you really feel like one being. You're individual, but you're also very connected to others. And there are no mind games. There is no deception and all that trickery that can happen here on Earth in our human bodies. But in HADAR, everything is very transparent and there's just deep, profound connection. So I found that Hadarian souls on Earth, they crave that so much. They crave the unconditional love that they know from HADAR. And when they come here, eventually they realize that what they're looking for outside of themselves, it's actually inside themselves. So once they stop needing love that they're looking for coming from outside in, which never ends up satisfactory, they need to tap into that source of unconditional love inside them and then start projecting that outside. So kind of nurturing themselves from within their own being, and then they start attracting relationships which are much more fulfilling and satisfying. So I wonder if that has been kind of your journey or your experience as well in terms of love and expectations and how you access love that's unconditional. Yeah.
It's very interesting because I just finished the chart with the same scheme and HADAR is there. So I actually kind of want to go back now and confirm some things too. But yeah, and I believe in multiple twin flames. So there's not just one, because, you meet someone that's kind of vibrating at your frequency, and then, you're going to so that person, if they're not ready, then you move on. And then there's going to be another one if you're on that twin flame path, and it's kind of like a template for ascension. That's what I call it.
I love that.
So you're going to go through that in many lifetimes. It's just, the soul chose, some people choose ascension through some type of physical illness. Some choose it through the accident. And then, others are on a twin flame template. So it's like learning through a relationship with another. So when I examined my life, I realized that I had 3 of them. And my first one was at 16. And then the second one was in my 20s, and then when I was 35. So, and there's like the same thing with all of them and yes, so there's a lot of looking for love outside of you, and trying to find that, and then you realize that it's actually all inside. So that person helps you to find, you know, the self-worth and self-love, and, you know, clear all the insecurities. I mean, you're working with so many things. It's just everything, you know, everything is there. But yes, like once you're full and whole within yourselves, and you don't really need another person anymore. And I tend to attract a lot of twin flames for some reason, clients, even though I don't advertise it as much. I just tend to attract them. So it's probably just part of my mission. And we do cover this topic a lot. I have a Russian YouTube channel where I do it with my friend, and we cover that topic a lot. And our goal is not to like help you connect with your twin flame or to be together, but to find yourself through that relationship and find your happiness again and navigate the relationship while being happy, no matter what the other person is doing or where they're at. So I don't do it in English because it's just, there's so much stuff out there about it already, but in Russia, it's still beginning, you know, in terms of spirituality. And also a lot of people from Russia, or even like where you're from, I'm sure you can relate. There's like, the parents were not emotionally available. You know, like they don't tell you they love you, or, you know, there's like no hugging as much. So we grow up without this emotional bond, and we're looking for that outside of us. So that it's very culturally related as well.
I'm so glad you elaborated on that, and that you highlighted the perspective of multiple twin flame template connections in one lifetime or over many lifetimes. Because whenever I met someone who was really stuck with the twin flame concept, but not in the multiple template, but just with one person, there was deep sadness, deep grief, deep despair, because every single one of them lost their connection to the person,
Right.
and they felt like, now this is it, I will never ever be able to experience the profound connection to another being. And it's such a limiting and painful
Yeah.
belief to have, or perspective to have. So I'm so glad this is kind of expanding
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
work. Really great.
And I call it sacred partner now, because it doesn't have to be a twin flame. It can be anyone, as long as you have that. The twin flame, like, they help you find that and understand what sacred connection is with another person. So then you can go out and find that person, whether it's the same one or it's a different person. And a lot of people, thankfully, are getting out of that stuck situation, and they're seeing what it's really about. And they're getting out of it, and they're happy, and it's like collective is changing. You know, a lot of people are realizing that, which is good.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. What was it like for you when you came across astrology and galactic astrology? Were you into astrology for a while before galactic astrology, or?
So I was listening to someone who did astrology and the energy reports, and I've listened to her for like several years, and every time she talked about technical things like the alignments, conjuncts, you know, squares, I had no clue what she was talking about. Like, I was kind of bored, didn't understand it, and was not interested. And I had my natal chart done as well a couple of times. And again, like, I could understand it when someone was going over it, but not fully. And then several years ago, first of all, I was always connected to planets in the way that my guidance would be like, oh, you need to travel to like there to be in the path of total eclipse because you need to see it. Or, you know, the full moon and new moon rituals. I was doing that for several years. And then a year or 2 years ago, I was told to buy this book. It's called Astrology for Dummies. And I was like, I don't understand why you want me to do that, but I purchased it. I read it, and it was very nicely laid out. I mean, again, that's why they call it for dummies. I mean, they're really nice books when you're just beginning and you want it simple. And I got all of it. I mean, it was very easy. And after that, I was told to like last year when we had several times like you could see the planets in the sky. I would wake up at the hour when they were visible during the night, and then the next night they would be like, you need to wake up again so you can sit and meditate. So that's kind of how it started, this whole connection with astrology for me. And then this year when I found your course, it was pretty easy because I had the basics already. But I'm not into traditional astrology as much. I don't concentrate on it a lot, just the basics. It's just not something that I'm drawn to. I'm more about the galactic points and the soul journey and Akashic records. And that's kind of like where my clairs, come online. And I really like doing that.
I love that. I noticed your Mercury is conjunct Pleione in Pleiades, and it's in the 11th house, and also your sun is in the 11th house. 11th house for any newbies here is the house where we feel inspired by supporting collective higher ideal, the greater purpose that involves the whole planet. So I can see, obviously, through your content creation that you are very passionate about offering high value service to humanity that kind of propels us on our evolutionary journey. So it's just such a beautiful validation of that. And having Pleiades star on your Mercury, which is the planet of communication, your mind, how you speak, how you think, how you communicate is, I see a lot of Pleiadian alignments out there, people in the public space kind of sharing the galactic information. So it's nice to see that there too.
Yeah, for sure. I am connected to Pleiades in Sirius too. I forgot if I have Sirius in my chart.
Yes, you do. You have Sirius conjunct your ascendant. So that energy is coming through very strongly. So when I saw at the end of your bio, you mentioned that you're also initiated in the Rose.
Priestess of the Rose. Yeah. Of the Sisters of the Rose. Yeah.
Really good. So the Mary Magdalene lineage. Do you connect that galactically with Sirius or Hydra, Vega, whatever?
I don't think I connected it to anywhere. I just had many past life visions when I was in Atlantis and Lemuria, and with people I know who have been initiated in the same workshop by my mentor, and so that I'm very connected to it. The same as Isis and Egypt. Like Isis would come to me quite often, and Mary Magdalene started coming often, and Yeshua, and and again, the whole fact that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and Isis, they're all twin flames as well. So they're all coming from this balance of feminine and masculine within and outside. So
I love that. So I would again just see your chart as another validation of that. I do connect Sirius A, or at least every single time that I've met a person that has a deep, strong soul connection with this template through multiple incarnations, they always had Sirius Vega conjunct oppositions in their chart. So it's beautiful. When you mentioned your grandmother or your maternal lineage having abilities that were recognized even by their communities, again, looking at your chart, you have Moon in Cancer in 12th house, trining Fomalhaut, trining Shapley Attractor, and that to me is one indication that the Moon in Cancer in 12th house, I do connect to the subconscious, not just an individual but also collective, and kind of the ability to tune into the invisible realms and karmic patterns, past lives, and so on. But you also have Lilith in Libra in 4th house. 4th house is house of the ancestors, and that's conjunct supergalactic center. So I think I would take that as an indicator of ability to tap into quantum field of all that is there. With the supergalactic center conjunction there with Lilith in Libra, I would see that also as part of the story of the twin flame template, because supergalactic center is about relationships, patterns, and the shadow side of it, and the deep transformation. So I think it's very interesting that you have that alignment there. Lilith, Libra, 4th house, conjunct supergalactic center.
Yeah,
so,
and that makes sense because I do a lot of work for generations, you know, ancestral work. It's just clearing everything, kind of like it stops at me where I'm redoing all the beliefs, you know, all the programs and all of it. Like I'm the one who has to put a stop to all of it. And I can see how some of the things, you know, are in me that I had to work on, and then they're in my mom, my grandparents. So it's like running through the lineage, you know, the things that are not good, like the same behavior or the thinking or anything else.
Also, you have Saturn in 4th house, and Saturn is in Virgo, so
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, and I know like HADAR and the Centaurus, it's also connected to is it Telos, I think, right? Yeah, and one of my biggest, like the area I live in, I never visited this area, and I was just intuitively guided here, and I just moved, and it was like coming home. And I live an hour and a half away from Mount Shasta, and I go there all the time, and it's like one of the greatest teachers for me. I mean, if I have a past life in some location, I can talk to that place. Like I can talk to the mountain basically, and there's a lot of guidance and channeling, and I can also talk in the same way to Grand Canyon. And there's another one that started speaking to me too recently. So I do a lot of work with the earth. You know, I mean, even I spend a lot of time in nature, but all of it is intuitively guided. Even like just going and sitting by the creek, I would be shown where I'm needed because I work with the grid line and ley lines and stuff.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because I wanted to ask about your Jupiter in Virgo in 3rd house conjunct Regulus, real star, and just the fact that when I worked with people who have conjunct Regulus planets, they seem to have that ability to tune into nature, and not just nature from the regular point of view, but the subtle realms and even the higher dimensional beings like elementals and fairies and everyone that plays important role in the organization of everything that occurs in nature on the subtle realms. So I wonder if your Regulus connection might have something to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, I'm literally all over the place. People think that I have this like perfect life where I travel all the time, or like day trips or for several days. But I mean, it's not all fun. I'm cold there, and sometimes I'm cold to the mountain and there's like lightning and hail there, but I'm supposed to be there and hold that energy. And then the same with fires, as there's a wildfire, I'm always kind of called to be there or after the fire to help restore the land. I also work with animals a lot as well. Like I had a lot of instances where the animals would be hit in front of me, and I'm guided to stay there and help them, pass peacefully and cross them over. So there's like a lot of new things I'm discovering about myself and what I'm doing with nature. But it's one of my biggest passions, and I do offer guided tours on Mount Shasta as well. So
I love that. Oh, one day,
work.
maybe, fingers crossed. But I wonder if the viewers can see the elven queen or fairy queen. I can totally see the look, the whole look. Your appearance really adds to to the beautiful magical experiences that.
And I think it matches with my chart because I know one of my, I forgot if I have the fire element, I have the water element a lot. So I work a lot with the water. It's like always called to be by the water and get in the water as well. And
I wonder if that is the counterbalance of the after fire rescue energies.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's very interesting. And yes, the fairies, I don't see things, you know, with my eyes, but I see with my third eye. So I feel the fairies and when I'm there, and I feel the Davis too. So I work with them a lot, but it's all kind of like subconscious, not conscious.
I love it. I love it. I'm just so excited about astrology because if I didn't see all those alignments in your chart, not me, but someone else could be doubtful about our sanity. But when you see those very precise alignments that, you know, if I've seen them over and over in other people's lives, and the manifestations of them were very similar to what we are discussing here. So to me, I just have, there is not a cell in my body that has doubt about the sanity and validity of the experiences that you're going through, that you're describing here. So
yeah, that's a nice validation.
Absolutely. So with regards to your session, do you offer Zoom video recordings, or what is your plan going forward? Can you talk a little bit about your sessions?
Yeah, so I do my sessions live because people experienced activations and clearings just from the energy exchange between me and them. So I also did many sessions live before, so I'm used to that format. I like to have that one-on-one interaction. And then I provide the recording. It's a video recording to the person, and then I'm also giving them the report. It's a written report. It's not fancy report. It's just a basic report, because when I receive my information and it comes in, I have to write it down. So I have it written anyway. So my guidance told me that you need to give that to people as well, so they have this. So that's kind of the format of the sessions for me.
Really good. And now on your website, I've noticed that you created something unique where you're combining the regression session with galactic astrology. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's going to be, I have 2 past life regression, or well, mostly it's past life regression. I mean, I don't think I had even clients who would, maybe 1 or 2 who went into the future or parallel lives, but I have 2 offerings. One is a full session, and the other one is a shorter session, which is up to 3 hours. So there's a shorter interview, and we're not discussing like what happened in your life. It's more about the current situation. And then the questions for the higher self are limited to 10. With the full session, they're limited. Unlimited. And then the Galactic Astrology, it's a basic chart. So I have 2 offerings with extended chart where we look at everything. And then the basic is where it's just major past lives and maybe like a couple more points. And so the combo package is a shorter regression and a basic astrology chart.
I love that.
And a lot of times you can, like, if you do a regression with someone, you can, well, first, you know their life, what happened to them briefly. So you can kind of confirm things, you know, when you look at the chart. But also there's some things that came up in the regression that they didn't understand, for example. And then you see it in the chart and it's like all making sense. So it's kind of putting the puzzle together. I mean, it's not going to work for everyone, of course, because if you have just a past life where, you know, there's not much going on, it's more for healing or just confirming things, then yes, it may not be as helpful. But I mean, for some people, it might be helpful. So, and of course, if someone just wants to experience both, and yeah.
I'm really excited that you're doing this because I've been through the journey of facilitating regression sessions and then tuning into astrology and just going through that process of validating and aha moments and oh my goodness, it's all there. It's to me, it's just like the best candy of
And
life.
I just had
So,
a session with someone, a regression session, and she's kind of like new still in the awakening. And when we were done with the session, I was told to look at her chart, but not like do anything. So just look at it and just tell her some basic past lives and connections, so she can further investigate that and see the personalities and like traits of those star races, so she can understand what karmic lessons she's learning and what characteristics she needs to embody more. So it's just, again, like doing everything by what I'm guided to do. And sometimes, even though it's not part of the session, you are still guided to do it. And she found it really helpful.
what a gift. You really then set her on a long journey, and it's like this continuous expansion. I love that. Really good. That just showcases the giving nature and the care that you have for your clients. And
I am going to put a new session probably in a couple of months. It's going to be synergy charts, where it's like, because I've done several of them already, and people really like it. And sometimes it's they want to look at their connections with another, like with a partner or someone they're romantically involved with, or it could be that they have a very awake, baby, like the Christed children that are coming in, and they want to look at, what's going on with the connections and what they're learning. And a lot of it, what I've noticed is those babies are like, first the mom had to clear the karma for the baby. Normally, then the baby comes into everything cleaned up and positive energies. But then at the same time, the baby is challenging the mom and triggering, so they can clear more, but also teaching them like unconditional love, for example. Or so there is a lot of interesting things going on between the parents and the newborn, the children that are coming in now.
So exciting that you're focusing on that, and also this relationships astrology. Just so fitting that you follow that guidance, and I'm sure there'll be many amazing sessions. I'm so glad and grateful that you're sharing some of the interesting client sessions on your social media, either regressions or you create a message that came through. So it's definitely worth subscribing. So again, your website is violetflamehealing.com, and then you have your social media links there, so everyone, you can check it out. Do you have any other message or any other story that you felt guided to share today as we close?
I can just mention from my astrology sessions, the main thing for the women that I'm noticing is stepping more into like the fire element, especially if it's in their chart, and becoming more this divine leader and setting an example for others. Like, where a lot of women they already cleared things and they have everything they need, but they're afraid to like make that step and start doing things openly or publicly, or getting out there. And their past lives would normally indicate a lot of, even, like when they had the abilities and stuff, they were really pushed down, and some of them were even killed for that. So there's like that fear coming up, and a lot of them would have Orion, and a lot of times Orion comes together with Lepus Nihal. So they would have those aspects to clear, and some of them would also have, the dragons are showing up a lot in my charts, where it would be like brutally like tortured by Orion when the wars were going on, and what was done to them, and like how some people are helping to clear the dragon lineage, to help them come more into connection with humans again, and reestablishing that. So that's been coming a lot in my charts, the dragons and what happened to them, and how people connected to them on a deeper level back then.
So interesting. I am so glad that you hopefully will continue sharing these on your social media.
I will start doing
I'll stay
that.
glued.
Yes.
I'll stay glued. Thank you so much, Jane, for being here and for following your guidance, your intuition, for all your service to humanity. I mean, with your son in the 11th house, I am sure the journey can only get better and better as you continue shining your light. So I wish you many amazing client sessions and just really well done again.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me and doing this interview with me today.
It's my pleasure. Much love, everyone. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Thank you.